At Ellora, the Kailasa Temple rises as if the mountain itself was peeled open and shaped into a monument. How did builders carve a complete temple from a single cliff? With such scale, symmetry, and confidence. This is not a hidden ruin deep in a jungle, but a celebrated site in Maharashtra, India, where stone seems to behave like architecture, and architecture seems to behave like sculpture. The place feels impossible because it is so physical. For centuries, pilgrims and travelers have stood before it and tried to imagine the labor behind it. The mystery begins with a simple question. Why would anyone choose to remove a mountain instead of stacking one? The accepted history places the temple in the 8th century, during the Rashtrakuta era, and credits generations of skilled artisans. Yet the finished work still invites a deeper wonder, because the method feels larger than the story we usually tell. Kailasa is part of a wider rock-cut tradition in India, where caves, shrines, and monasteries were carved directly from living stone. But here the scale changes everything, turning craftsmanship into something that almost looks like impossible extraction. Supporters of ancient technology theories point first to the sheer volume of rock that had to disappear. If the temple was not built upward, but revealed downward, where did the removed stone go, and how long did the work truly take? The carving is not random. Courtyards, gateways, pillars, shrines, and sculpted panels all seem to resolve into a single planned vision, as if the mountain had been mentally completed before the first strike of the tool. That sense of planning is one reason the site keeps finding its way into discussions of lost knowledge. When a monument feels this integrated, some people ask whether the builders inherited techniques that have since vanished. The most striking detail is the monolithic process itself. Instead of assembling blocks, artisans excavated around the temple from the top down. It is a method that demands extraordinary foresight because every mistake would be permanent. Even today, the geometry feels deliberate and exact, from the main shrine to the surrounding enclosure. That precision is what keeps the temple in the company of other ancient sites that seem to exceed their era. Some investigators and enthusiasts point to the surface finish on parts of the rock, where lines and transitions appear controlled rather than crude. In the right light, the stone can look less hacked than engineered. That observation leads to one of the enduring questions. What tools, teams, and methods were actually used, and how were they coordinated across such a vast project? The temple seems to demand both patience and a system. Local tradition adds another layer, because sacred architecture in India often carries stories that are not just historical, but cosmological. The temple is not only a building, it is a statement about the relationship between earth, sky, and the divine. That is where ancient astronaut interpretations enter the conversation. If the builders were inspired by teachings from beyond the ordinary human chain, the monument would be less an anomaly and more a surviving clue. Believers in that idea often focus on the temple's ambition rather than any single feature. They see a work so vast and coherent that it feels like the product of advanced guidance, not merely labor and devotion. The strongest case rests on three concrete things: the monolithic carving, the intricate symmetry, and the apparent mastery over a difficult basalt landscape. Taken together, they make the site feel like a solved puzzle whose solution has been lost. There is also the human scale problem. When a structure is this large and this detailed, it becomes hard to picture the daily logistics alone, from quarrying and debris removal to the management of skilled labor over years. Skeptical historians point out that ancient builders were often more capable than modern people assume. With time, organization, and inherited craft traditions, ambitious rock-cut projects become difficult but not impossible. They also note that India has a deep record of monumental stonework, temple patronage, and specialized artisans. In that reading, Kailasa reflects human ingenuity at its highest, not a missing species of technology. Still, the conventional explanation does not erase the wonder. Even if every cut came from human hands, the question remains why this particular monument feels so far ahead of the expectations we bring to the ancient world. The site's mythology matters here too, because sacred stories can preserve memory in symbolic form. When a temple is linked to cosmic themes, later generations may read it as evidence of knowledge received from above. That is why Kailasa remains so magnetic in UFO and ancient technology circles. It sits at the intersection of devotion, engineering, and the uneasy feeling that the past may contain capabilities we have underestimated. The unanswered questions are not only technical, they are also historical. How much of the original process was recorded, how much was transmitted orally, and how much has simply been forgotten by time? Even the timeline invites caution. Large sacred projects can span generations, and what looks miraculous from a distance may have been the result of a long continuity, disciplined labor, and deep institutional memory. Yet continuity itself can be part of the mystery. A civilization that can sustain this level of ambition may have possessed forms of knowledge we no longer recognize, especially in measurement, planning, and stone extraction. Looking at the temple today, it is easy to feel that the monument is asking a question back. Was Kailasa the peak of a known tradition or a surviving trace of something even older and stranger? The most honest answer may be that both readings keep part of the truth alive. Human skill clearly shaped the stone, but the scale of the achievement still leaves room for wonder about what inspired it. That is why the temple continues to attract engineers, historians, pilgrims, and mystery seekers alike. Each group sees something different, yet all of them pause before the same impossible-looking cliff. And when the light shifts across the carvings, the old question returns with new force. Was this simply the work of extraordinary human hands, or the echo of a knowledge we have only partly recovered? The temple does not answer, but it endures. In that endurance lies the real mystery, a mountain transformed into meaning, and a monument that still feels larger than the history written around it. For some, that is enough to keep the ancient technology question alive. For others, it is proof of what organized human civilization can achieve when belief, labor, and imagination move in the same direction. Either way, Kailasa remains one of the most astonishing stone monuments on Earth. And standing before it, you can still feel the same unsettling thought. What else did the ancient world know that we have not yet understood?